All praises to the Most High. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shem Mashiach Yahweh Shai. And I'm going to do this little lesson on why the world hates us. And I'm going to start with the book of John chapter 7, verse 2 through 5. And it reads, Now the Jews' feast of tabernacle was at hand. His brethren therefore said unto him, Depart hence, and go into Judea, that thy disciples also may see thy works that thou doest. For there is no man that doeth anything in secret, and he himself seeketh to be known openly. If thou do these things, show thyself to the world. So this is Yahweh Shai's brother telling him to go to Judea. He was telling him to go into the city. Verse 4, For there is no man that doeth anything in secret, and himself seeketh to be known openly. If thou doest these things, show thyself to the world. For neither did his brethren believe in him. Now I'm going to go from John 7 down to John chapter 7, verse 7. And this is Yahweh Shai speaking. He said, The world cannot hate you, but me it hateth, because I testify of it, that the works thereof are evil. So Yahweh Shai was letting it be known why he was being hated and why the others weren't being looked at the same way. So this applies to all of us that's out there on the highways and the byways and the people that are bringing out the truth. They hated Yahweh Shai, so you're going to get the hate because it's that spirit. Not saying that we are him, but that spirit, like he said, his spirit is joined to our spirit as we cry, Abba, Father, like he says that in Romans chapter 8. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of John, chapter 15. And I'm going to start at verse 18. And that reads, and this is Yahweh Shai speaking again. If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If ye were of the world would love his own. But because you are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hated you. So Yahweh Shai is reiterating it again. He's saying why we're being hated. Another reason we're being hated is because he chose us out of the world. And verse 20, it reads, Remember the words that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my sayings, they will keep yours also. So it shouldn't be a surprise that you're going through the persecution, the ones that are bringing out this truth and sincerity out of a pure heart. If you're doing these things like the way Yahweh Shai said, you're going to be persecuted and you're going to be hated. Verse 21, But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. And Yahweh Shai is making it clear the reasons why they're doing it. Because they know not Yahweh. They don't know the Most High God. People say they know God, but that's all. They say it, and they say he's in my heart. And we know how Jeremiah the prophet mentioned how the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? The Most High Yahweh knows the heart. So when people are always saying that he's in my heart, they're just saying these things, but they don't really have the love for him. And from there, I'm going to jump down in the same chapter, John 15, and I'm going to go to verse 25 through 27. And that reads, But this cometh to pass, that the word might be fulfilled, that is written in their law, that they hated me without a cause. They hated him for no reason at all. All he was doing was bringing out the truth. He was bringing them that truth, and that's why he was being hated. Verse 26, But when the Comforter is come, whom I will send unto you from the Father, even the Spirit of truth, which proceedeth from the Father, he shall testify of me. And that's what we're dealing with now. He's given us his Spirit. You see, he couldn't leave his Spirit until he actually got on that cross, gave up the ghost, and then he ascended up to the heavens to the Father. And he left his Spirit. That's the Comforter. That's teaching us all things now and bringing it back to our remembrance. Verse 27, And when ye also shall bear, and ye also shall bear witness, because you have been with me from the beginning. Now listen to what Yahushua is saying in that verse. You've been with me from the beginning. See, he's talking about how that spirit. See, a lot of the people don't realize they've been here before. It's these same spirits that hate us, that hated Christ. The same spirits are here that hated Moses. They're back. That hated Jeremiah, that hated Stephen, that hated all the prophets, that hated Peter. It's these same spirits, because he talks about that in Luke, about the regenerations. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Hebrews. Go to the book of Hebrews, and I'm going to go to chapter 5. And I'm going to start at verse 12. And I'm going to go to verse 14. And it reads, "For when for the time you ought to be teachers, you have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of Yahweh, and are become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat." So Yahushua is saying, when the time that you ought to be teachers, you need that someone need to teach you again. So if people aren't understanding this word, they have to be retaught. And I'm going to read the next couple verses, and he's going to break it down crystal clear. Verse 13. "For everyone that uses milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe." He's a baby. This is what Yahushua is saying through Apostle Paul. We believe that is the writer of Hebrews. Verse 14. "But strong meat belongeth to them that are full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil." So if you're able to discern right from wrong, good from evil, then you can eat some of the meat. But if you're still not understanding the basics, and you're still going off, you need to be retaught again. This is what Yahushua is saying. You have to be retaught again. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Isaiah. The prophet Isaiah chapter 28. This is my big study Bible. And sometimes these pages are a little sticky. Isaiah 28, and I'm going to go from verse 9 through 11. And it reads, "Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine?" And he reads on, "Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast." Just like Paul was saying in Hebrews. The ones that are just not, if they're not understanding right from wrong, they're still a baby. They're still on the milk. They can't handle the meat. Verse 10, "For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little." So we have to go to the Old Testament and get some information, and to the New Testament to get information and get the clear understanding. This is why we have to go back and forth and precept it. Then this is how you get the clarity. And then verse 11, "For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to his people." To this, Shalakia, to this people, to us, to the ones he chose from the foundation of the world, the Israelites, Yasharallah. That's who he's talking about here. And when our people were brought over on the ships, we didn't speak English. We were speaking Hebrew. And this is why he's mentioned this, with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak through this people. And from there, I'm going to go back to the book of John. Back to the book of John. Go back to, I believe it's the words of Yahushua again. John 7, verse 16. Start at verse 16, and I'm going to read to verse 18. "Yahushua answered them and said, My doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me." Verse 17, "If any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine, whether it be of Yahweh, or whether I speak of myself." Verse 18, "He that speaketh of himself seeketh his own glory, but he that seeketh his glory, Yahweh's glory, that sent him, the same is true, and no unrighteousness is in him." This is why Peter was saying in Peter chapter 4, verse 11, 1 Peter, "If any man speak, let him speak of the oracles of God. If any man minister, let him minister with the ability that God gives him." We're not supposed to be saying our words when we're trying to bring out this truth, not the imaginations of our heart. We're supposed to bring out what saith the Lord. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Psalms. So he said, if any man will do his will, they shall know of the doctrine. So now, we're going to go to the will, because David, he mentioned the will. David mentioned the will. We're going to go to it. Psalms 40 and verse 8. And this is David, the king of Israel. He said, I delight to do thy will, O my God, O my Yahweh. Yeah, thy laws is within my heart. So this is the will of Yahweh. This is the will of God. Doing the laws, the statutes, and the commandments. So anyone that's not doing these things, they're not doing the will. This is why Christ was saying that to one of the disciples when they said, Lord, your mother and father are looking for you. And then he had to tell them in the gospel he was saying this. He said, who is my mother? Who is my brother? Those that do the will of the Father is my mother, brothers, sisters, and so on. This is why Yahweh Shai had to say that. And from there I'm going to go stay in the book of Psalms. I'm going to go to Psalms 139. Psalms 139. And I'm going to start with verse 23 and 24. And this is the king of Israel again, David. And this is what he says. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. And see if there be any wicked way in me. Shalakia. And lead me in the way of everlasting. So this is the king of Israel, David, speaking here. And from there I'm going to go to Psalms 51. So David, he was a man after God's own heart, as we all know. And that's what we're supposed to be. Men and women after God's own heart. So I'm going back. I'm going to stay in the book of Psalms and chapter 51. And I'm going to read from verse 2 through 7. And it reads, wash me thoroughly from mine iniquities, and cleanse me from sin. For I acknowledge my transgressions, and my sin, Shalakia, my sin is ever before me. Against thee only have I sinned, and done this evil in thy sight. Bear with me. Against thee, and thee only, have I sinned, and done this evil in thy sight. That thou mightest be justified when thou speakest, and be clear when thou judgest. And then he reads on, behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Behold, thou desirest truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden parts thou shalt make me to know wisdom. So this is what Yahweh Shai wants. Just bear with me. This is what Yahweh Shai actually wants to do to us. But in order for him to do this, you have to have humility. You have to humble down enough for him to cleanse you from the inside out. This is what he's talking about here. He said, purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. And we all know what white means. There's nobody white. It says it in the book of Daniel chapter 12. He said, many are going to be purified and made white. So the white, all that means is purity. Doing all the things that he said in this Bible. That's what white means. Everybody out here saying that they're white, they knew that meant purity. And that's why they've been saying that. But nobody is pure that's going around killing everybody, stealing everything, cutting down the trees, messing up the ecosystem, killing all the sea life, and taking everybody's resources. There's nobody that's pure that's doing all these things. And Yahushua sees right through this. Let me read verse 7 again. He said, purge me with hyssop. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. So that we have to be cleansed from the inside out. We have to get new hearts and new minds, because the heart is the mind. We have to change the way we think about all these things that they've been pushing on us in this society. And this is why he said through the prophet Ezekiel, he's got to take away that stony heart and give us a heart of flesh. And from there, I'm going to go back to the prophet Isaiah. Just bear with me. And I'm going to go to the prophet Isaiah, Isaiah chapter 1. Isaiah chapter 1, and I'm going to read from verse 16 to 20. And this reads, Isaiah the prophet was saying the same thing that David was saying. He said, wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do well. Seek judgment. Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless. Plead for the widows. Now verse 18, he says, come now and let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. So now Yahushua is talking about making you pure and making you woolly. Who had the woolly? Yahushua had that hair of pure wool. He's saying, trying to make you just like him. That's what he's saying here. We have the hair like Yahushua. Our people have it because they're all from that lineage. They're from that same bloodline, but they're not doing the things he said. We have to do these things he said in the scriptures. Verse 19. If you be willing and obedient, ye shall eat the good of the land. Verse 20. But if you refuse and rebel, you shall be devoured with the sword. For the mouth of the Lord has spoken it. So the Lord is saying these things. See, that's one thing about it. When we go out and bring out this truth on the streets, people get mad. They're mad at Yahweh and Yahushua. This is Yahweh's words. We're not saying, we're the vessels, but we're not saying anything. The Lord is doing all the saying here. And from there, I'm going to go to Job chapter 33. Let's see how he speaks. Because Job was talking about how he spoke. Let's see how he was speaking. Job chapter 33. I'm going to start at verse 14. Job 33, and I'm going to start at verse 14. And it reads, for God speaketh once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not. It says they'll hear this word once, they'll hear it twice, and yet they still don't understand it. But then verse 15, he says, in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, and slumberings upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of men, and sealeth their instructions. So this is the Lord said, he's saying how he has to deal with people. Sometimes people have to hear it more than once. He says they'll hear it once, they'll hear it twice, and then they still don't perceive it. Sometimes he has to give them a vision in a dream. Verse 17, that he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide pride from man. Because see, the Lord hates pride. He says he resists the proud, but gives grace unto the humble. That's why he said in Peter, humble thyself before the mighty hands of God, and he'll lift you up in due season. He going to make your feet like hinds feet, like he said in Zephaniah, and take you to the high places. This is what people don't realize and understand. It's not going to get worse for you. It's going to get better and better for you. Verse 18. He keepeth back his soul from the pit, and his life from perishing by the sword. And so this is what he's trying to do. He's trying to prevent you from getting destroyed, and he wants you to have that abundant life. This is what he wants. And from there, I'm going to stay in the book of Job, and I'm going to go to chapter 22, and I'm going to start at verse 21. And I'm going to chapter 22, and I'm start at verse 21 down to 28. And it reads, acquaint now thyself with him, and be at peace thereby, good shall come unto thee. So now he's speaking through the prophet Job, saying, you have to get to know me, and then things are going to go well for you. Once you get to know him, that's what getting acquainted means, getting to know the Most High. And then he reads, receive, I pray thee, the law from his mouth, and lay up his words in thine heart. Verse 23, if thou return to the Almighty, thou shalt be built up. Thou shalt put away iniquity far from thy tabernacles. So this is what he says. Once you get to know him and start being obedient, you're going to put away all these iniquities far from your tabernacles. They're going to be far from you. Verse 24, then shalt thou lay up gold as dust, and the gold of Ophir as the stones of the brooks. He's going to supply all your needs according to his riches and glory. Verse 25. Yeah, the Almighty shall be thy defense, and thou shalt have plenty of silver. You're not going to be wanting nothing. You're not going to be lacking anything either, because you made the Most High your habitation, and the Most High God your refuge. Verse 26. For then shalt thou have thy delight in the Almighty, and shalt lift up thy face unto Yahweh. Verse 27. Thou shalt make thy prayers unto him, and he shall hear thee, and thou shalt pray thy vows. And remember in John 9 and 31, the Lord, Yahushua said, the Lord does not listen to sinners, but if any man be a worshiper of God and doeth his will, him he heareth. So if you're being obedient, he's going to hear your prayers, your petitions. He's going to hear them. He's going to take them. They're going to go to Yahushua. He's going to take it to the Father, and he's going to grant you your petitions and your wishes. Verse 28, thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee, and the light shall shine upon thy ways. So everything is going to go your way. It's going to go the way according to what the Lord wants. See, he's the one that owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He doesn't run out of resources. But a lot of our people think it's these heathens, mainly Esau, that's supplying all their needs. That's not the case. He said it is he that gives the power that gives to get wealth. He said that. It is he that gives the power to get wealth. None of this is from these people. It's from, everything comes from him. And remember in the book of James, he says, every good gift and every perfect gift comes from above. It comes down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow or turning. He doesn't change. Yahushua is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And with that, I'm going to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shem HaMashiach, Yahushai, Kwam Yasharallah.